Russell Frost. I'm a letterpress printer based in Leytonstone. From New Zealand originally. I've been over here 10 or 11 years. I first got into it when a friend gave me a hand-printed business card. Just kind of light bulb came on. I thought, that sounds like me. Old machines and old equipment and sort of, just being self-employed. I've always had a love of the old. I grew up, my dad was a conservationist and a sort of outdoorsy kind of guy. And I think, there's a lot of passion for that, plants and animals and ecology. It's a broad church, I suppose, subject-wise, but there's a bit of a reoccurring one with that sort of subject matter. We were quite rural growing up, so there's a self-reliance, I think, which comes through nicely with the letterpress, maintaining the machines and just the sort of do-it-yourself, have what you need and get on with it, uninterrupted, so to speak. I suppose I'm about 14 years into it, but even before I've got into collecting the printing equipment, I had the printing trays on the wall full of all the knickknacks. Like, I didn't really stop to think in those days what had been in those trays, but it's quite funny that now here I am with those trays with the type in them. And I'd say it's a 50-50. Like, I love making stuff. I'm fairly creative. Did a lot of art through school. I haven't formally studied art. I more went down the landscape architecture route. Still involved in a lot of drawing and design and stuff. So there's a bit of that there. I'm not a graphic designer either. I think the true love was ephemera, just collecting, matchboxes, tins, labels, and it was the messages, the fonts, the layout, and the fact it was old and it was sort of time travelling. I like the idea of just here I am using real stuff that's had a past, and it would be fascinating if some of these objects could sort of tell you where they came from or who they printed for. This particular, I don't know if you can see, little box that's a very incomplete fount of type, but there's enough letters that I could spell a few words. There's the A. Is a London maker, and through doing the research, I believe it's by a firm called Bonnywells, and they were based on here. It says 16 Old Bailey, so downtown, but I believe they utilised the canal in around Victoria Park for floating logs to the mill for making the wood type. So it's got a lovely local to sort of this side of London vibe. But based on what I've read, it's no newer than 1865, which to me is very wowish because it looks kind of quite modern. So I bought that with the premise of making this print, and then as well I found a typeface on the market where I could actually get the word pigeon 5 times out of the one set. So for one going through the press, I don't have to reset the word pigeon 5 times. So that's how this one came about. But there's different methods to my madness. Some other ones, the type lends itself to certain characteristics. This is a good example, the plant more trees. This was one of my first 2-colour typefaces. So if you can see, there's an inner and an outer that correspond. This print I've put through the press 4 times. So I've done 2 different colourways with each block, and if you can see, there's areas of sort of strengths which I've then, or weaknesses on the first pass through the press, which I've then monopolised on and come back through and gone, right, they'll take a second colour. So normally what we do is make ready, we'll put paper on the back of the blocks and get everything completely level. Whereas here I've purposely let some be light and then use that for embellishment with additional colour. And then the ornament on the sides here are ones I rescued from a architectural salvage place in Vauxhall. I like the fact woodworm has gone through prior to being in my collection, and it's a bit like a caterpillar's put some holes in the leaves. It's all very in vogue at the moment, planting more trees. They've got to be the right species in the right place. So. It's a real luxury where there might be pause in commissions. Some of my commissions, most of them are either sort of just a few wordy sort of quotes specific to the person commissioning it, maybe a paper wedding anniversary. But when I get all that out the way and there's like a spot free where I can have a play, that's a happy time. But usually that's sort of 1 or 2 days, and then if you're trying to do multicolour work and get a bit of drying, you do have to have a bit of a plan. I started off blue and I just went straight over into black. You can only get away with that with black, but a few of those down. What I normally do is 10 or so down. It can be quite exciting when you've got 0 time, but you've got a few ideas you just want out of your head, claim them or whatever, get them done. That it is nice when that goes well. If you sort of labour away at your idea and you come away with a print you find visually pleasing and it's working, you're like, yeah, I think that was worth doing that. It's cool. And yeah, back to the real world. If it sells, it's even better as well. I pretty much, as you can probably see, reinvest a lot of what I make back in searching out more type and picture box and sort of building on the collection. Yeah, it's fun just seeing the love and passion. I guess it's the artisanal, the specialisation every little trade had back then. So you get these printers that, put their heart and soul into, what's just a packet for a shoelace, or it's sort of, looks like it's inviting you to a circus. They're running all manner of different fonts, and it's fun. It's also, talking about the collection and the collecting, it's sort of futile probably in a sense, the fact that so many of these things are gone now. I have a big playbill advertising a show. I think it was somewhere up in Liverpool, the actual show, and I just marvel at the different typefaces, and I know there's not a chance in hell I'll ever own that one or that one, but it's sort of there to inspire me to keep looking, and weirdly I'm knocking off a few here and there, but a lot of it was burnt, a lot of it was melted down. Yeah, back to the old guys and their typefaces. It is fun where you can see they probably held very little, but as far as volume of one typeface, but yet they might have had quite a few for just small jobbing work, and they employ the lot. It becomes quite busy, but I quite like that. It's sort of ad hoc, but you can sort of appreciate what they're doing. Yeah, as far as heroes out there, I quite like, there's an American printer that inspired me. I've got a print, Sourdough Makes You Rich. And it's just a fun, sort of, lot of words. Dough sort of, means money as well, and sourdough, you could be looking at sort of, what would you call it, like sort of the money laundering or corruption or whatever. But I mean, it's really just partially stemmed from the fact I really wanted to print this old bread knife block. But as well, this artist, Amos Kennedy, has a cool print, Coffee Makes You Black. He's a black letterpress printer in America, and he really uses his printing press as a machine and does some good stuff. So yeah, that's quite inspiring, seeing what you can do. Weekends I run the shop. It's a little bit optimistic, sort of footfally midweek around. But I'm a bit like a lizard. If I get a bit of stuff done up until lunchtime and it's a sunny day, then I will pop down the shop, and because that's quite a nice space just to sit there and almost sort of be oblivious to comings and goings and go into a bit of a zone, either thinking of a next idea or just doing email, and then if a customer comes along, it's a bit like sitting by a river and getting a bite. You can sort of, it's my sort of crossover fishing. Yeah, like I suppose I'm a lifelong collector. I'd like to think more collector than hoarder. I think I had a phase where I used to just collect anything that was old, whereas this has allowed me to narrow my collecting, and I try to use it as much as I can as opposed to just collecting. But I find it is nostalgic, reflective. It allows me to sort of tell a few stories, I suppose. There's the old hackneyed horse. See how I damaged that? It was pretty knackered. 1840s, this type of. This is quite a beast too. I guess I had a slightly less sort of path of an upbringing, growing up where I did, etc. And it's fun to share some of those little anecdotes. Some of it's minorly sort of educational, I suppose, as well. I like to think it might help from a conservation point of view or something, draw attention to what's on our doorstep here. The name Hooksmith, back to your Maori and their sort of heitiki sort of fish hooks and bone that they wear, and the sort of creation myth or discovery of Maori fishing and hauling in the North Island. Me being a little sort of white boy but loving my fishing, it was just a little pun on the most common European name is Smith. And the love of making things sort of artisanal, I thought Hooksmith would be a nice kind of coining of a phrase, and then a hook in advertising is a bit of a slogan or a riff. So as far as wordplay, I guess a bit of a cheeky bugger sometimes, and just enjoy a bit of a laugh, and if I can make other people laugh as well, then that's sort of fun. It's got to be good for everyone. Some that's downright stupid and cheesy and all the rest of it, but what's a good example of one? Play more bum notes. I mean, that comes from my own sort of background of playing music by ear and not reading music very well, and play a lot of bum notes, but it's a good mantra, I think, for life to keep trying. I try and keep it clean. I mean, swear words, I've not really cut loose on. I'd quite like to, but, it's easy to get a bit too sort of in the gutter. I think my good wife, Sarah, keeps a bit of a rein on things there too, I suppose. I did print the word windfucker high over Wanstead Flats, which was fun for me because it was actually the Elizabethan name for a kestrel. I like to think there's something melodic maybe sort of goes on sometimes with the words. But as well, I might hear something, an idiom or something that, and it's like, oh, what's that? Especially as I'm from New Zealand, coming to the other side of the world, we do have different figures of speech and stuff, so I get a bit of a chuckle out of. There's a print I want to make, for example. People talk about the British with their stiff upper lips. I want to do stiff upper lips, oiled hair. It's sort of. I actually bought some print blocks of some oiling cans, but they're not quite right. So that one's mulling over, and I'll rework it and try and come up with the nicest delivery, and it's meant to just be sort of. I find it hilarious. Yeah, I guess sometimes the witty can be corny, but in a sort of retro, almost sort of way of looking at things, I almost think it's still quite fun. Do some cheesy stuff, but that's self-depreciating. I don't think it's all cheesy, but some of it is kind of just a nice outing for the picture block almost. There's one print I do, it's just that child's nursery rhyme, once I caught a fish alive, but part of that is it's got a fishing relationship, but I like the numbers. They're particularly cool from where I look. They're old betting numbers for tickets where they sort of have the inline word. I might have mentioned that. So the number 6 says 6. You can't turn up and say it's a 9, but as well, I like the last line in that sort of first verse, and then I let it go again, which is a nice little ethos on the sort of catch and release fishing side of things. But so there's that's not rocket science, but there's sort of significance to me, I suppose, some of the stuff, getting it out of my system and allowing me to keep ploughing on. And then as well on the Bandicoot, like the way you feed it, because it's a sort of a hand where you clasp it and then roll around, just that little 1 sort of 2 mil difference here can sort of present itself, especially with the 2-colour print run, quite well or quite badly depending. So you're trying to get in a bit of a flow where you handle things the same way. But you're back to the process. So you, as you know, you're sort of limited by the size of the bed of the press. You can't print outside what the sheet is, obviously, that you can run. So you're constrained by that. And weirdly, for a press that looks big and sort of 500 odd kgs, it's quite surprisingly small, the actual print area. You're challenging that. You can rotate a longer sheet around to catch sort of a bit more of the top and the bottom and give the impression that you've printed a bigger sheet of paper, which is nice if you want a bigger print. Because I think the Vandercook SP15, it's not even doing an A2, but you can get a little bit narrower and slightly longer if you do that turning process. So some days people must walk by and go, geez, is that guy ever selling? And then, but it is that little sort of analogy of fishing is weirdly almost true. There usually seems to be a little window in the day where the fish are biting, and then, yeah, and it's, don't know if it's sort of weather related, atmospheric, but in fishing sort of can be related to sort of barometric pressure and what storm systems are coming or river levels. It's always fun when I get people that have come, especially. I think leading up to Christmas for a good month or two there, I think I had on my Google Maps thing that I was temporarily closed, but still sitting in the shop for the last few weeks. But yeah, no, it's quite fun. I guess it's the unpredictability. It is real good fun. I mean, it does remind me as a kid, sort of in a town with sort of very little other than sort of hikers coming from all around the world to walk the national park, but that would be an interaction, and it was good fun chatting to just, you never know who, you know. One of those for... You're all good?
Good.
Thanks, Faye.
No problem.
Would you like a card, mate? Oh, yeah. You look familiar, eh? These this one? Oh, have you? These three here are new ones. Heaven is a 257 to East 11. Save the Forest, that's a facsimile of the sky.
Makes me look so like, oh no, and then you'll be obviously like, that might be that any of us do. I don't know,
They made
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
What's the Antipodes one?
That's what us Kiwis and Australians are called.
Are you?
Antipodeans. That means opposite foot, so the other side. Antipoidal too. It does really well, actually.
It would work because she is on the other side, even though it might not be.
Yeah, well,
literally.
I mean, literally means just opposite foot, so it doesn't preclude being somewhere else, but it's just pretty tied up to it. Yeah, but no worries, mate. So, what next and where to from here? Yeah, it's an exciting proposition. Onwards and upwards. Keep on collecting, I guess. There's always going to be something that catches my eye, and I'll always be hunting. People ask me what's my favourite typeface, and I think that's a cheekily say the one I haven't got yet. But they'll continue to inspire my artistic evolution, and we'll see where the journey takes me. That's a new little piece to it. How many excuses can I make?
It's all bum notes, Russ. That's
I need an hour or two normally to warm up properly.